Good afternoon everyone, welcome to your Low Friction Friday. This one just going to do some quick updates on some general low friction stuff. Feeling very average today. I have a good man flu, but because I am such a hard unit, the low friction must go on. So alright, let's go into topic number one that has come up during the week. Okay, I get a lot of questions with regards to testing Tech lubricants. So have I tested? Am I going to test? And Tech, it's a little bit tricky. So from what I understand, they've got a really sort of good standing reputation, especially in the United States, which is sort of really where they're based. And that is really where you can obtain their classic bicycle lubricants. So there's quite a, Demond is tricky. There's quite a difference between their Classic and their Pro X. So now their Classic, despite the claims on their product page here that they are eco-friendly, which I'm not in a position to contest that at all. If they claim it, then let's hope that is absolutely true. But I can say that you'll sort of see here that they cannot be shipped via airmail anywhere. So they are classed as dangerous goods for air freight, which means that they must have a pretty volatile component to them, which is likely the carrier. From what I've been advised from customers of Tech in the United States is that the Classic basically does have a carrier that flashes off or evaporates off and leaves behind like a sort of plastic type coating, which would be, very contamination resistant. So it may well be a really high performing product. Unfortunately, what I can obtain here in the land of Oz is just the Pro X version, which does not have their obviously volatile carrier, and that does stay quite wet. I have tested one of theirs a while ago, which was the Pro X Lite, and it didn't do very well in block 1 at all, like really 16%. That is really not competitive at all. It wouldn't have really been that competitive sort of 5 years ago. It's definitely not competitive now when we've got the likes of, Black Diamond at 2.3 and Synergetic at 0, Synergy at 2% and so on. Once contamination was introduced, however, in block 2, because it remains very wet, things really went backwards at a pretty big rate of knots, and so we can see that it's really hanging out in a rough crowd down here. These are some rough looking buddies that you just don't want to be sort of caught hanging out with. So it's a fair way off, and as such there's just nothing really compelling for me to try to test any of the other ones in the Pro X range, even if if another one is a lot better than the one I tested. If there was just something not amazing with Pro X Lite, if the regular, for instance, is quite a bit better. Quite a bit better than really poor still doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a sort of a top competitive option. So if Demond want to contest, Demond can discuss with me and look to book in a test, but it's certainly, I'm not going to be testing any Pro X under my own volition, because spare spots that I can get on a test machine in between manufacturer book testings are pretty, important. And I'm either going to be testing to try to find a product which may be a genuine, top competitor that may hopefully rank in around the top 10 and be a product that we can recommend. Or I'm checking a product that's sort of come to market with some pretty outrageous, marketing claims that we're going to put to the test. So if it's not in sort of one of those two buckets, then it's really unlikely to make the test long list. So, and as far as the Classic goes, so even if I would say, it may be great, but overall, the cycling world is kind of moving away from lubricants with very volatile carriers. It may be that it's something that over time Demond may need to look at, updating to get away from that sort of volatile carrier that's dangerous goods for air freight. So that's kind of where we're at with Demond. It's really unlikely that I can sort of do too much there because I can't test the one that's probably really high performing, and not a lot of confidence that the Pro X is going to sort of shake up the league table or leaderboard. All right, another very commonly asked test request is about Dynamic Speed Potion, as used by Team Jumbo Visma. Obviously a pretty darn successful team, and they do tend to do their homework. So I was actually contacted by Team Jumbo Visma last year with regards to testing Dynamic Speed Potion, and also had some good discussions with Dynamic and the creator of the product there. So I obtained 3 bottles and I've conducted 3 tests. Now they were happy for, I guess, this not to be a paid private test, for me to test under my own, I guess, curiosity that it may be a top product that we might look to stock and recommend. So I can release the results of the test, but I haven't as yet, just because all 3 of the tests were just really quite a ways out. And so much so, and also just with the level of discussions that we've had with Dynamic, that they're not giving me the runaround or fluff or trying to keep things close to their chest. They've all been sort of very open and passionate about what they've done and what's gone into developing the product, and their own testing that sort of backs the performance of the product. So it is possible that there is something amiss with the bottles that I have. It is rare, but it can happen, and it has happened in the past. Basically, wax lubricants shipped across in containers that may cross an equatorial zone. It is possible that they can get overheated at certain times of the year, which can affect the wax base. So again, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily likely or that has happened, but just based on sort of everything that we've really covered in the discussions and the test results, it is just something that I'm going to, I guess, rule out by getting some new bottles from another supplier and find a spot to retest before I sort of go through and release sort of really everything that's sort of happened with the product to date. So it could be that the retest, that we get a completely different result and something that's sort of more in line with what we would hope and expect from, I guess, a product that's had this much sort of genuine R&D behind it. So that's where we are at with that one. It's definitely on the radar. I'm going to try to find a spot to retest as soon as I can. Definitely this year, unless something really weird happens. And I will then update as soon as I can, because it is a pretty hotly contested one. And yeah, just a bit of an odd one, bit of an awkward one as to where we're sort of at the moment. But we will solve it. As I said, it is very rare, but it has happened in the past. So I do want to rule out that hasn't been the issue with this particular test before we, pump out a result that's sort of not necessarily great looking and maybe do a disservice or not the right justice if that test is actually on an affected product. Alrighty, moving on to test requests in general. So here's a few just from this morning that test requests that come in. So one for a Motorex. Mint and Drive had a number of requests with regards to Mint and Dry. PT's Link Lube and PT's Lubricants. So now, where possible and in future, I will be trying to obviously get to some of these tests, but just bear in mind that there are about 1,000 lubricants plus out there. And considering that each test takes generally sort of 2 to 3 months to conduct, it'll take me quite a while just to try to work my way through them. So normally I do have to prioritize tests, based on some pretty sort of strict criteria. I can't just work my way through what's out there in the world. So really, to try to help, that I guess you can do the first part. So most products will make a whole bunch of claims, and they usually are along the same kind of lines. But it's quite possible, so I don't think necessarily with Mint and Dry, but stuff like Motorex, this one strikes me as extremely likely that it is just yet another of 1,000 lubricants that is just an industry lubricant designed for industry X or purpose X that has been rebottled to sell as a chain lubricant for people who want to drip something onto their chain. It is extremely unlikely, in my view, that this has been, had some R&D put into it by a particular manufacturer to specifically develop a lubricant for use on a bicycle chain. And use on a bicycle chain, it is quite a specific use. And we've really seen the difference in, lubricants that have been developed by manufacturers, putting the R&D into, having that lubricant perform on a bicycle chain, as opposed to it just being a lubricant. Considering how extremely saturated, beyond saturated, the bicycle chain lubricant market is, it is a pretty tough thing for manufacturers to really invest, stepping into the space of, I'm going to develop the next, best thing in bicycle chain lubrication. Because you can make a great product and then you are just, again, one of 1,000 plus, all more or less claiming the same thing. So a lot of them do not have that R&D specifically behind it to make them a great bicycle chain lubricant. They are just a lubricant. Now, again, I could be wrong. MotorX can tell me that I'm wrong. But step one will often be for, onto yourselves. Email the company and ask them about the particular product and ask them what specifically they have, what testing and what were the test protocols and what data do they have that sit behind the claims that they're making for the product. Because if they're claiming it, obviously in theory, they should have the actual data, the actual testing that sits behind the product to make those claims. If you get no reply or you get a fluff market piece reply and nothing tangible, then we pretty much know it is, in that bucket that I was talking about. Products, that's definitely step one to also do, even with companies where it is quite possible that the company has decided to step into the bicycle chain lubricant space and put some development, effort and cost into making bicycle chain specific lubricants. In which case, again, they should have quite, a bit of stuff that sits behind it and the claims, because to make the claims, they would really have had to put the lubricant through its paces, along with putting it against quite a number of key competitors. And if they don't have that, then that is a concern. With regards to Minties or Mint and Dry, so just because I've had this one come in a little bit, I did a video, I can't remember which one, where I did cover off the concerns with regards to ceramic and bicycle chain lubricants. Again, Mint and Dry, please let me know how I am incorrect, but all of the investigation that we've done into ceramic lubricants for bicycle chain lubes is that it is just marketing, and that there is no evidence at all that adding some token ceramic particles into a liquid does anything to help reduce the wear of your bicycle chain. It really is the actual lubricant itself. So ceramic coatings are normally something that you would have for molds, for injection molding, where it'll now make it easy to get that mold out. It is a spray-on coating where basically that coating is a boron nitride non-stick coating. That is not what you have when you suspend that in a liquid. And again, the amount of ceramic particles that is included in the product is always a concern. And basically, we sort of, to date, any ceramic lubricant that we've seen with a customer's bike or control tested, they just have been nowhere near the picture in terms of competing against the top known lubricants that are not ceramic lubricants. So I would be asking them a whole bunch of questions about what are the ceramic particles, how much, how does it work? Because if they're claiming that it puts a ceramic coating on all the chain parts, which is the mental map that these lubricants try to sort of paint for you, then yeah, it would have to be a lot, and we'd really need probably a different type of carrier. Okay, on to some good news. I did a video a while back based on basically cycling media really needing to lift their game with regards to how they review bicycle chain lubricants, because it's pretty much been a train wreck for most of time. They are a very difficult product for a cyclist to review, because it feels like a lubricant on a chain to most, and unless you're doing some pretty good assessment, which they rarely have the means to be able to do, really how do they sort of discern what is a great lubricant versus average lubricant to a poor? So over the years, though, it has really been great to see. So, obviously this is a space that zero friction cycling that I've been chipping away at, and just really pleased to see that more and more major publications have been really raising the game on that. So a recent article that came out by Cycling News by Tom Wachowski. So a great article overall, really putting in the time and effort, and basing this on some actual information that's been tested and assessed, and so as opposed to what we would too often see with cycling media publications, where the lubricants being recommended, quite a number of them may well be the worst lubricants that we've ever tested. We just getting more publications now doing just a much better researched and much more accurate job. So that's fantastic, because the more places that are putting out the best information on this front, it's really just the more of their readers that they're going to be saving from having a high friction, high wear, much more costly to run drivetrain. So thank you, Tom and Cycling News, for that one. Going to give a special mention also that Mike Stead at Road CC, I don't have a sort of article up for him for a recent one, but Mike Stead has also been a journalist that's really been sort of putting some good time into this over the last couple of years to get the reporting on chain lubricant reviews up further than where it used to be for Road CC. Simon von Bromley also at Bike Radar. So they're really sort of stepping up and stepping into the space that's been occupied for a long time by the likes of your sort of Dave Rome and James Huang of now Escape Collective, that have really been at the forefront of top media reporting in this space. Just really pleased to see more and more major publications where the tech writers are taking that time and effort. So fantastic. Thank you to Tom, Mike and Simon as well, joining in that I guess the movement to try to get more cyclists saving a bunch of wear, dollars and friction on their drivetrains, and also often degreasing and solvent maintenance that's ending up goodness knows where, because the best lubes just really need next to none or none of that. So outstanding stuff. Always, it's great to be able to sort of report some good news. All right, quick test update to finish off the Friday ramble on friction. And sorry, the lighting in the background has changed since I started to when I've come back, so it may look like I have a bit of a halo, which would be extremely justified, may I say. Alright, so one of the test machines, I have an immersive wax on test, which I will hope to be able to name. We're just about to start the wet block 4, and all going well, hopefully the company will soon give me the okay that, even though it's a paid private test, to release publicly who they are and the data. Fingers crossed. I do have ceramic speed wet conditions lubricant on test as well. I do believe I'm going to be able to release this data okay, but I'm going to double check. It's kind of like we're swapping some sort of testing for each other on this one. So, but I just will double check, and then hopefully by next Friday's ramble I'll have some updates with regards to ceramic speed wet condition. For those of you that listen to the Escape Collective podcast, and if you don't, you definitely should, you may have heard that both Ronan and Dave Rome had a ceramic speed wet conditions lubricant sample that really did not go well. But Ronan obtained a new one, and that has gone very well. So there was a bit of a batch issue with their first sample that they tested. Again, this stuff can happen. Sort of references back to the chat with the dynamic potion. So hopefully mine is going to go well through the wet conditions block, and we will be able to give you an update there. That one will be quite interesting. The Hot Wax X, my apologies, I was going to get the final extreme contamination block updated for you on the spreadsheet. I have completed it. I just haven't had time to quickly chuck it over onto the spreadsheet and update. the weeks are a bit of a flurry. I'll try to have that done for next week, and we're about to start on the single application longevity protocol. I've just got to get some more hot wax X because I need a new fresh batch. I can't use the batch that has just done the main test because it will have stuff in it from all the amount of contamination and crap that's thrown at it. So a little bit of that will come back into the wax pot each time. I'm making this a very, very expensive test, even at wholesale. It's expensive stuff to buy, so needing a couple of batches to do that test. So that's pretty much where we're at. I will update with what the next planned tests are after this one, probably next week. I'll hopefully have a bit more of an idea on what I'm locking in for the next tests. I will try to finish, so one of the tests that I had started and I had to stop and I will restart was the candle wax. If I can, I will try to get that back going again. Again, I know it's something that DIY waxers or some waxers want to know. They want to sort of see a number of candle wax versus the top waxes, and that will be cool. Just again, remember that immersive waxing is a set of I guess part of the demographic of people that use that in the cycling world as their lubricant. Of that, there is a smaller subset that DIY wax, and so it is a test for quite a small sort of subset of curiosity only that want to use something like a candle wax as opposed to a good base wax. So it's curiosity, sure, but as compared to some other tests, it's just not as high a priority. So please bear with me. It may be that I sort of get through a block, have to remove it to get another test done, and then I'll get it back on in between another one, and we'll get through it. And I plan to do golf canning wax as well, so we'll get there. Just bear with me. DIY wax tests are just really lacking priority versus a whole bunch of other tests that we really want to try to get to. So that is that. All right, I am fading. So I was going to try to do the Rex Black Diamond wax review video today and get that out as well, do a double like I did last week, but I reckon it's beer o'clock because I am not feeling amazing, and I think a beer will make me feel better, as well as getting ready for a fun weekend. Hopefully I'll get some cycling in if I'm not feeling too rubbish, but I don't know where we're going to fit it all in. We have a whole bunch of cycling. We've got the Enduro World Championships round, we've got the next Cross Country World Championships round, as well as the Downhill Cup, I believe, at Leo Gang. And we have the Formula 1 and the MotoGP, so good luck to me. Maybe a little bit less sleep this weekend than normal to try to fit everything in. So much fun, but we will pump through what we can. All right, I hope you have as much fun this weekend as I am planning to do, and I will catch you on the next one.